Nearly everything runs automatically. From a giant crane, glowing hot molten iron is poured into the furnace to be processed into steel. For Siemens engineer Anton Zebansk, steelmaking remains fascinating. The furnace from Siemens has been at this plant in Ukraine since the beginning of the year, an investment worth more than €1 billion.
The investment volume in Ukraine is very large. There is a huge need to modernize the steel mills to bring them up to international standards. And of course, Siemens is represented here, and naturally, the competition is very intense.
The plant in Alchevsk is now considered one of the most modern in Ukraine. Siemens also installed the control room. It allows workers to monitor the entire steelmaking process. From here, Denis Lomakin and his colleagues produce batches of some 300 tons of steel at a time. But right now, the plant has reduced production.
We used to make 40 to 50 batches of molten steel per shift. Now it's 25 at the most. It's all because our orders have been reduced. Right now, it seems that demand for steel around the world is not keeping up with production.
Unfortunately, the new steel plant at Alchevsk came online just as the global economic crisis hit. The company is hoping that the major investment will give them an advantage over domestic and especially international competitors during the recession.
These days, the mechanical applicability of the steel plays a deciding factor. Mass-produced stuff and mass production are no longer needed. That means in the future, we'll produce less steel, but it will be of a higher quality, with the exact criteria demanded by our customers. It's the only way to survive the crisis.
There's been a steel mill in Alchevsk for more than 100 years. It's the center of heavy industry in Ukraine. From here, steel for ships and industrial production is sent all over the world. For many of the 100,000 residents of the city, their livelihood is closely connected to the steel plant. Denis Lomakin and his wife Tatiana are expecting a child. Both hope that he won't lose his job at the steel mill. Alchevsk, like much of eastern Ukraine, has already suffered massive job cuts. Denis Lomakin has received special training for the new steel plant. The Lomakins are hoping that this will mean his job is safe.
We realize that this isn't the first recession, and it won't be the last. Recessions come and go. Eventually, this one will end as well. We're cautiously optimistic.
Siemens has a similar attitude. Anton Zebansk is one of the company's sales reps for Ukraine. Understanding customers' needs is the only thing that counts, Zebansk says, and not just during an economic crisis.
The steel production facilities in Ukraine are very, very complex. Most of them are very old plants. Many were founded more than 100 years ago. And the complexity and interrelatedness of the various facilities must be constantly kept in mind when conducting sales or offering solutions.
The next stop for Anton Zebansk, Yanakieva, some 80 kilometers away from Alchevsk. The steel plant here was considered top-notch during Soviet times. Now it's in urgent need of modernization, and the company knows it. They want modern technology from the West, just what Siemens has to offer. A new furnace being built here will be able to deliver raw iron by 2010, and despite the crisis, construction work is going ahead.
The modernization should have happened a long time ago. After the recession of 1998 here, the leadership at the steel plant changed. It eventually became part of a large holding group. And we actually only recently got around to completely renovating everything here.
The new blast furnace is just the beginning. Much more is planned for Yanakieva. Anton Zebansk is hoping for more orders from Siemens.
The mood is relatively positive, so they are still optimistic here. Steel will be needed in the future. The only difference is that modernization is happening at a slower pace. Converting the steel plants into highly profitable ecological plants is going to take more time now.
Anton Zevans thinks Ukraine will continue to be a steel producer. The raw materials and the skilled workforce are already available. The conditions are ideal as long as the process of modernization isn't derailed by the economic crisis.